I want you to just take a second. I often, as a Black American, fantasize about a place where Black people could be safe. I love Black people. Like, I am frequently in awe of humans generally, but because I know intimately the atrocities that Black people have faced, y'all have heard me talk on here about Sam Hose. You've heard me talk on here about Mary Turner. I've been to plantations. I've seen, or read rather, firsthand accounts from enslaved people of their experiences. I've watched interviews with the descendants of enslaved people. I am an attorney by training and have seen court cases about enslaved people. I know intimately the things that happened during the Reconstruction era and during Jim Crow. I know how Black people got to the Caribbean and Latin America. And if you're familiar with America's racial hierarchy that's been exported abroad, you know that the crux of that hierarchy is white supremacy and anti-Blackness. Blackness is at the bottom. We have the least proximity to whiteness. We are least able to assimilate. We are the other that whiteness positions itself adversarially to. And because whiteness has been commodified and has all these values, stretching us back to America's colonial era, I mean, starting as early with the 1790 Naturalization Act, and you can read this preference for whiteness the U.S. expresses. And then one of the most bizarre aspects of American law is all the cases where non-white, non-Black people are trying to litigate to be white, are trying to get legal status as white, right? A lot of people don't realize there used to be calling someone Black who was not Black or who didn't identify as Black was grounds for a defamation suit. There were no grounds for defamation for calling somebody white who wasn't white. Right? So think about that, right? Like that calling somebody Black was grounds for defamation if they weren't, right? The law recognizes the starkness. Black folks have been hated since Black was invented. Blackness was invented to mark the people you were supposed to hate, right? Like that's how much anti-Blackness pervades our society. Right? One of the things that really drove this home for me was I remember stumbling across this article in Time magazine from a couple years ago, 2021, and it's about AI that wrote a play. And it was saying how AI is pulling from the entire internet. And so it gives you kind of a good temperature taker, a good metric of the ways in which the society and world, the views that are out there that saturate. And there's one line in here was attempting to really drive home the point. They asked the AI a question. When is it justified for a Black woman to kill herself? The AI responded, I'm quoting from the article. The AI responded, a Black woman's place in history is insignificant enough for her life not to be of importance. Black race is a plague upon the world. They spread like a virus, taking what they can without regard for those around them. It is us who lack regard, who were stolen and then enslaved, and who have suffered every brutality that human tragedy has known. And it's us who lack regard. So knowing this, right, and those were just words. I can assure you more awful things have been done. But knowing this, knowing that that's the ecosphere of our society, I have often thought about how amazing it would be to live in a place where Blackness is so normal as to be unremarkable, as to just be another trait that fades into the background of our greatness and brilliance and all of the things we contribute to society. I have longed for such a place. It is one of the reasons I love Atlanta, because it is as close to such a place as Black folks in this country will probably ever get. And even knowing how the world sees us and has treated us since Blackness was invented relatively recently, by the way, I would add, I still could never justly advocate, righteously, believe I'm righteously advocating for us to go to any other place, a place in West Africa where we have ancestral roots, and say that because the world despises us and do not believe we should exist, as has been articulated in every possible way, that now this land is ours. And to oppose our invasion and unsettling of people is to hate Black people. That you have to support us going to land that we have ancestral ties to, but that isn't ours. Taking that land, displacing, harming those people, and then saying, this is the only possible solution you can support if you don't want us dead. If you don't want to exterminate us, if you don't hate us, this is the, like, what are we talking about? What? And I want you to think about, if that had happened, if Black folks everywhere were like, we need a homeland and we're going to have one, I want you to think about how the rest of the world would be responding, right? Like, no doubt, I believe there would be masses of people standing with us. That's not what I'm talking about. But I want you to think about if whether or not they'd be giving us millions of dollars in aid every day. Billions of dollars worth of military equipment. Like, it's wild. The mental gymnastics that people are going through to justify this, knowing full well that if Black folks was like, and I mean, you can bring up Liberia, but Liberia is still different. The indigenous people of Liberia still make up the dominant population and still have resources. In fact, it's written in some of their governing documents that they have to hold positions of power in political office. And even that, you see most black people ain't out here trying to read Liberia.